Hello, my name is Joel, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Share Deck. Today I'm going to be doing another 5-color deck tech on Niv-Mizzet Reborn. So the goal of the deck is pretty much outdraw my opponents. So for me to do that is I'll be using a lot of creatures that whenever they attack or whenever they deal combat damage, I'll be drawing a card. And then when I'm running low on cards, then I'll play Niv-Mizzet from the command zone. Then I'll try to fill it up. I'll fill up my hand because the Niv-Mizzet's enter the battlefield ability is pretty good, especially when it lets you dig 10 cards deep. And since most of my deck are color pairs, so it's trying to maximize with that ability in mind. So with that, let's press on with the boring part, the lands. So the lands are pretty much the same as most of my decks. I'm just transferring them, so we'll breeze through this real quick. So we have City of Brass, Command Zone, Salty Orchard, Reflecting Pool, and Mana Confluence. So I have only 4 of the Triumph lands, so I'm missing the Jeskai one. So, and then the Ravnica dual lands, I have all 10 of them, so we'll just skip through that. So the fetch lands, I only have 9. I'm missing the Scalding Tarn, which is the blue and red fetch. So I'm going through this one. So with Prismatic Vista and Fabled Passage, so whenever I get those 2 cards that I'm missing, then these are the 2 cards that'll get cut. So basic lands, these are the only cards that usually just stay with the deck, since every deck has a different set amount of basic lands to it. So, and whatever utility land that's on there or mana fixing that's very unique to the deck or works well with the deck. So going through the basic lands, so we have 3 forests, 1 island, 1 swamp, 1 mountain, 1 plains, and then since this is a Niv-Mizzet Reborn deck, although most of my deck cards are multicolors, so Pillar of Perunes. So the main theme of the deck, like I said, creatures that whenever they deal combat damage, they let you draw a card. So here's the first one, Cold-Eyed Selkie. Good way to start. Pretty straightforward. Has evasion, island walk. Oshadrix, the Silver Quill. This is one of the cards whenever you attack. It lets me draw a card. Most of the time I'll use the second mode. The third mode, not unless if I really wanted to shorten the clock on an opponent, I'll use it. And then the first mode, not unless I'm scared of the crackback, that's probably the only time I'll probably be using it. So it does have a little bit of flexibility to it. So. Shadow Mage Infiltrator, straightforward, lets you draw a card and has a little bit of evasion. Edric Spymaster of Thresh. So this is the MVP of the deck, especially since it lets me draw 2 cards. So let's say we got a card like Shadow Mage Infiltrator and it deals combat damage. So I get to draw a card with Shadow Mage Infiltrator. Then I'll also draw a card with Edric. So good card. Card advantage all around. Alright, Dimir Cutpurse does the same thing. Draws a card when it deals combat damage, but it also lets the opponent discard a card too. Tomb-Bound Leech. So this has more card selection than anything because it lets you draw a card, but you have to discard it too. Or you have to draw a card and discard a card. So it has a nice bonus whenever it enters the battlefield. It lets you draw a card and discard a card, and it has Death Touch and Lifelink. So as a blocker, this is pretty good. And if I'm a little bit low in life, then this will be helpful. I mean, Timna, the Weaver. I mean, what else you can say? Card draw. Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow. Pretty much the same thing. Like, it deals damage, you get to draw a card, and then it deals damage whatever the converted mana cost of the card you drew. Veldakin Heretic, simple. Whenever it deals damage, draw a card. 2 to cast, 1/1. So with Augury Adept, you draw a card and then you also gain life equal to its converted mana cost. Alright, Dragonlord Ojutai. So with Dragonlord Ojutai, whenever it deals combat damage, it lets you do mini impulse. So instead of digging 3 deep, oh I'm sorry, instead of digging 4 deep, it lets you dig 3 deep for it. So we got Bedeviled. So as you can see, a lot of my creatures doesn't have evasion, so I'm banking on my removal package. So I have a lot of removal for this deck, a lot of single point removal. So I have an answer for just about any permanent that comes into play or whatever spell that needs to be countered. I should be able to answer it, hopefully, if everything falls in the right place. So the reason being in that is if I'm using a removal to take out a blocker, so hopefully whenever it deals combat damage, I'll be able to draw more cards, more removal cards to kind of recoup my investment. So that's my thought process of this. So all right, so we got Bedeviled, pretty much destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment. Oh, I'm sorry, not. Let me repeat that. Destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker. So should not rush. Sorry, all right. Ingress Rampage. So this was pretty much just a single removal, but only sacrifice. So it kind of gets around indestructibility. So artifact, creature, or planeswalker, sacrifice. So with Cindervines, I tend to play this early, so I'll be at least accumulating a little bit of damage. And so in the late game, if I do need to remove an artifact or an enchantment, I can, and it deals a little bit of damage too. When Grace's Judgment, it's card advantage all around, so I get to ping off one of each non-land permanent for each opponent. So those could be blockers, those of my creatures can go in and then getting some of those card back. So hopefully I'll be able to draw into more removal or more counter spells to protect my creatures. Dreadbore, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Okay, Dromoka's Command. So this is here for more for versatility wise, because enchantments are really hard to deal with in Commander. So a way to take them out is like obviously Dromoka's Command, and if I do need to take out a small creature, I can with the +1/+1 counter, and then use the fight ability, choosing those 2 modes. So the first one, I don't think I'll ever use that mode. All right, Night of Autumn, straightforward, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Then the other 2 modes is pretty good too. Like, you know, if I do need to shorten the clock on an opponent, I'll use the first mode. Then if I'm low in life, then gain 4 life. 1 or 2 of my graveyard hate cards, and then you can destroy an artifact, and it has a little bit of reach, especially if you're playing against a massive token deck. So it's a good card. Fracture, I'm testing out. So it has destroy target artifact, enchantment, or planeswalker. Maelstrom Pulse, destroy target non-land permanent. Anguish I'm making, it's removal at instant speed. The only downside is it loses 3 life. It lets you lose 3 life. So Quandrix Command from Strixhaven. Let me focus on that. There you go. All right, with Quandrix Command, the first 3 modes are probably the ones that I'll be using the most. The first mode, I'll be taking out a blocker or a planeswalker. Then the second one, if I need to hold back to counter an artifact or enchantment. And the other one is like put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. So like I said before, if I do need to shorten the clock with an opponent, I can do that. So since a lot of my creatures only has like 1 or 2 power. Rip Apart, pretty much the same. Removal. It can take out a small blocker or a planeswalker that's getting close to its ultimate. So trying to set them back a little bit. And then if there's an enchantment or an artifact that needs to be taken care of, then this is a good answer to it. Counter Squall. Counter target non-creature spell and loses 2 life. Assassin's Trophy. removal. Kaya's Guile, pretty much the same, but this is my second graveyard hate card. At the same time, it also sacrifices a creature for each opponent. The other two abilities, like I said, is very flexible. If I'm afraid of the crackback, then I'll create a 1/1 flying white-black spirit creature token. And then if I'm low in life, then I could gain 4 life. And if I have the spare mana, then I'll pay the Entwine and I'll have all 4 abilities. So all 4 modes, I'm sorry. D-Spark, removal. Vindicate, destroy target permanent. Like, it's pretty much like the best modal spell out there. It can destroy target artifact, land, enchantment, planeswalker. What was it? I think that's about a creature. So pretty much good all-around card. Sorcery speed. So Prophetic Bolt, a pet card of mine. I mean, it's not the most efficient, but it definitely gets the job done. So for what you're paying for 5 mana, and you get to deal 4 damage to target creature or player, and then it lets you do an impulse. It's a good card. Ionize, same thing. Counter target spell, or if you need to counter a spell that's gonna do a board wipe. That's good. Dolphin's Veto, the same, but it can be countered. All right, Defiler of Souls. So with Defiler of Souls, it's so since this is a multicolored deck, I'm not too worried about like sacrificing a monocolored creature since I only have 2, and those are just pretty much just mana dorks. So yeah, so this with this on the board, at least it'll save me a little bit of removal for creatures, so I could use whatever removal I have on something else. So a lot of my removal is pretty versatile, so it gives me that flexibility to answer whatever threats. So with having Defiler of Souls in the field, kind of saves me those spells for a later turn. All right, now we're on the ramp section. So we have Growth Spiral, Giganta, the Wellspring. So with Giganta, this is pretty much just a ramp card that just pretty much just reads like add 2 mana of any color. Since this is a Niv-Mizzet Reborn deck, so most of my deck are color pairs. Now unless if we have Niv-Mizzet, then yeah, so you could pay for the whole 5 mana for it. But other than that, that's probably the only thing. Honestly, if there's another Gruul card that's better, then this will probably be the first one to go. Faeburrow Elder. It's a ramp. It has vigilance. And it gets bigger too. So Felwar Stone. Birds of Paradise. Noble Hierarch. Nature's Lore. So Tomb, the Guild Pack, does double duty. It does ramp at the same time, draws me a card. The only downside, again, it's 5 mana. So Commander Spear, Arcane Signet, Farseek, 3 Visits, and a Soul Ring. This one. All right, now we're in the card draw section. So Baleful Strix is a good blocker, and also enters the battlefield, draw a card. So that's a good card. Hydroid Krasis. This is pretty much a mana sink. So if I do need to, if I have a lot of mana just sitting around and I'm in top deck mode, this is a very good card to top deck with. Since it lets me draw a card and lets me gain a little bit of life. Rhythm of the Wild, one of 2 of my haste enablers. Again, having Riot is very good because I do need the power and toughness boost on my creatures since they're all really low in power and toughness. Sphinx of Revelation, draw a card, a mana sink. Expressive Ethereation. I'm trying this out from Strixhaven. So I mean, it's a good card. It lets you dig 3 deep, and one gets to be exiled, and one gets to be going to your hand. So I would say, like, whenever you are going to play this, hold up on playing a land. So just whenever you do reveal a land, or whenever you do see a land, you just put in an exile and then play a land. So you're good that way. So Samut, Voice of Dissent, has flash, double strike, vigilance, and haste. It's like I said, I'm running low and I don't have a whole lot of Gruul cards here, so this is pretty good. So with Gruul, it's untap ability. I guess now if I do need an emergency blocker, I can use it. Or if Ojutai is, if I do need Ojutai to be untapped, because Ojutai gets hexproof when it is untapped. So I could untap it if I need be, so to give it a little bit of protection. Now we're in the board wipe section. So we got Supreme Verdict, Pernicious Deed. All right, now we're in the miscellaneous stuff. So Fulminator Mage, if I do need to take out a Maze of Ith, a Gaia's Cradle, those are the cards that I'll be more worried with, because since I really do want to deal combat damage, and having a Maze of Ith in play would be troublesome. So I have at least a way to get rid of it. Other than the Vindicate, I can also use a Vindicate on the Maze of Ith. Yes, Dauntless Escort. I can sacrifice it. All my creatures gain indestructible. Damage doubler, and preserves my life total. All right. Eladamri's Call. I have a couple of utility cards that I could use, like I was showing you earlier. I could use it on Fulminator Mage. I could use it on a Knight of Autumn if there's an artifact or enchantment that needs to be taken care of. Or I could use it on, let me see. That's about it, really. Yeah, if I do need to get double draw cards, then I'll find for an Edric. So it has a lot of applications to it. So, or I could play a Baleful Strix. Lets me draw a card if I'm hurting for card draw. My only graveyard recursion, Treasured Find. Brago, King Eternal. Like I was showing earlier, I do have a lot of creatures that comes into play. For example, our Baleful Strix will let me draw a card, or my commander. So digging 10 cards deep again for getting some card draws are pretty good too. So those are what I'm going for. And then the last is Blade Historian. Since a lot of my creatures deals combat damage, I get to draw cards. So doing it twice will net me 2 cards. So that is very good. So with that is the last of the deck tech. Hope you enjoy this Niv-Mizzet Reborn deck tech. So this is it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.